Terry Bradshaw, another Steeler great. He had a really interesting quote to 103.7 The Buzz in Arkansas. I know you probably saw this. On the topic of Aaron Rodgers starting for the Steelers, he said, and I quote, "That's a joke. To me, is just a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in 1 year? Are you kidding me? That guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere and chew on bark and whisper to the gods out there." First thing, Terry's always going to Terry. Secondly, what is your reaction to this quote?
And I disagree with the great Terry Bradshaw. I really do, because if you have an opportunity now, I'll say this, the waiting game that we've all been playing indirectly for Aaron Rodgers to sign is like, okay, now it's about time, right? Like, what are we doing? So I'm not agreeing with the waiting game, but I disagree with Terry saying, what are the Steelers doing? Because if you do have an opportunity to get Aaron Rodgers and he wants to play for you, I wouldn't say no to that, because I think he's a better option than what you currently have in Mason Rudolph. And for Terry's other statement about what are you doing bringing him in for a year, that doesn't make any sense. Well, actually it does, Terry, and here's why. If you start Mason Rudolph for 2025, it's almost like you're doing the same thing, because no one in the organization visualized Mason Rudolph as the future of the organization at the quarterback position. Would you say that, Rick? Or
No,
do you think?
no,
Exactly.
no. I think I never really thought about it that way, but I think your point of it being similar results is beyond fair. Like, the only thing that Mason Rudolph has on Aaron Rodgers at this point is age. That's it.
Yes. Yes. So for you, Terry, to say, why are you bringing in Aaron Rodgers just for a year? It's the same case, because even if Aaron Rodgers does not play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, in 2026, Pittsburgh is looking for the new quarterback. Unless there is a Sam Darnold-like year for Mason Rudolph, individually speaking and overall team success, where they can say, you know what? Oh, let's run it back.
Oh,
But do any of us believe that actually can happen?
no.
I don't think most of us will put any money on that happening, right?
No chance.
So that's why I disagree with Terry, because you're basically doing the same thing. It's a 1 year deal for Mason in terms of being the starter for this year if Aaron Rodgers isn't there. If Aaron Rodgers is there, it's 1 year deal for Aaron Rodgers as well. But which player gives you the best, will give you the best chance to win more ball games? I would say it would be Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion.
How I'm looking at this right now, first off, I wanted to just fact check it. Yes, this is his last year. On the depth chart is Will Howard and Skylar Thompson. It's thin. All right. There's no question that it's thin. Here's my question to you. Considering that you were the pros pro, you were the model citizen type for any franchise that you played for. What Aaron Rodgers has done since 2020 has been detrimental to his image and to the way that we talk about him. There's one thing that will always cover up a player's deficiencies, and it's winning. Winning and succeeding. The NFL loves winning and loves succeeding, even if you are scum of the earth in the worst example. Is this something that the Steelers and the Steeler way would sign up for? Do they really want the McAfee appearances? Do they want the Jimmy Kimmel beef fiasco stuff? Like, is that really like a Steeler thing?
Yeah, because they can handle distractions. That's an organization that's been built on championships and doing things the right way. You look at what followed Russell Wilson when he signed up with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a lot of media attention following him for a guy who was nowhere close to being a top 10 quarterback. Think about Russell in Denver, right? And then when he signed on with the Pittsburgh Steelers, think about all the media traction that followed him. And they handled it pretty well. And so if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're okay in the mantra of Aaron Rodgers and everything that follows him, because this is a different situation for Aaron Rodgers. Remember when he went to the Jets, Aaron Rodgers instantly became the biggest figure in that organization for a few reasons. Number one, they didn't have any legit superstars in the organization. Number two, they've been an organization that hasn't been known to win. They've been an organization that hasn't been known to win championships. When you go to Pittsburgh, you're no longer the biggest fish in the pond anymore. You're no longer the winningest individual in the room anymore. No, this is an organization that has 6 sticky Lombardis, right? You got individuals in that room that has won championships. I'm talking about Mike Tomlin. So it's not like you're coming into a situation where they're looking for any bit of competitive edge because they haven't seen or had that in quite some time. Pittsburgh Steelers, they know, even though they've had horrible playoff experiences over the last few years, in terms of the history and the prestige, they're at the cream of the crop in the entire NFL. The only team that has done it better than Pittsburgh has been the New England Patriots. When you look at winning championships.
I'm looking at the mock draft for next year while we're on the topic. Is there any way, and I know this is very un-Steeler-like, is there any way that they should try to not have a good record to draft Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, any of these quarterbacks? Do they find a replacement there, a long-term replacement?
So that's the thing about the game of football that I love. There's no one trying to lose. There's no one tanking for the next up-and-coming big player or big superstar.
Except when the Colts did it.
No, well, see, the Colts didn't really do it because you got to realize their quarterback was injured and everything just went wrong for them in that terms of that led to them getting Andrew Luck. It wasn't like they were just trying to lose ball games.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree. They started Curtis Painter. That's who they started, that Purdue guy, Curtis Painter, in order for him to be not as good so they could then get the number 1 pick. It didn't appear that they were trying to win games, and Curtis Painter was not an NFL quarterback after that.
My rebuttal would be to that. The next best player wasn't that much better than Curtis Painter either. Mm-hmm. Like, they were the young guy. Either option, you were probably going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you lose your franchise quarterback unexpectedly in Peyton Manning, whoever the backup is or the backup to the backup, they're probably going to be in a position where you're not going to have a legit chance to win. Because that's how important quarterbacks is, and those guys were not supposed to play. So I wouldn't say they started him to lose. Well, the next other option wasn't like, well, you can start him, or you can start Joe Flacco, or you can start Mason Rudolph. Whoever the next option was, it wasn't really like that anyway. But in terms of what we see now with the Pittsburgh Steelers, no, ain't nobody trying to tank. We see that time and time again. Think about Houston a few years ago. They had an opportunity. If they would have lost the game, they would have got the number 1 pick. They ended up winning. They ended up winning in a meaningless game. Those players were fighting hard. Now, they didn't get the number 1 pick, but it still worked in their favor because they got who? C.J. Stroud eventually. But at that time, you're like, hey, we want to fight. We want to fight. Because if I'm a player and I know regardless the team has been bad, I still want to put good tape out there as an individual. Because unlike the NBA, when you get cut, there's no guarantees attached to you. Mm. And as we see now, it doesn't matter where you get drafted at. These teams have short patience for any player, especially if they don't see a future for that said player. And that can go to say a lot. If you're a general manager and you see your guys who are playing in a meaningless game, Rick, and you see guys out there just lackadaisical, not going through it, going through the motions. Oh, that's what you're doing because you see we're playing for nothing. As a general manager, do you want to build with that same player? No. So as a player, guess what I'm doing? I'm fighting and I'm clawing regardless of the ramifications of this game or not. For me, it's a Super Bowl. So if you're Pittsburgh, if you're Mike Tomlin, it's your job to fight and claw week in and week out, regardless of what the roster looks like or regardless of what the potential future draft prospects look like, because you want to make sure that you, number 1, do your job to be at your best, and you, number 2, keep your seat as cool as possible, because year in and year out, we're always hearing this player's job is in jeopardy. This coach's job is in jeopardy. It's no difference for the Pittsburgh Steelers with this upcoming season.
True. I remember, and I'm sorry I'm blanking on the man's name, but I saw a video last night that was reposted on TikTok of one former NFL player speaking to, I have to think, a high school football team, football players, and at an amateur level, to paint the picture. And he was talking about how it was a preseason game. There was an interception deep in the opponent's end zone. Dude is running it back. This guy made a play by running him down, taking the correct angle, and stopping a touchdown at like the 2. He then got called in to the GM's office with the head coach. They were making cuts. He's expecting to be cut. He said he had his bags packed already. He had a flight booked home. And they said, we're not going to elevate you to the 53, but we are going to keep you on the practice squad. And then that next day when the team met, they showed that play and had that player stand up to make a point known that hustle will be beneficial for us and you will be rewarded like a roster spot. I don't recall if he made the NFL roster, but the fact that he thought that he was done, I'm piggybacking off of what you're saying. The guys do care. They absolutely do care. And this was just one example of many of that.